Welcome to Dads with Nerdy Ambitions. I'm your host, Steve Pugh, and joined with me always is David Perry. And the reason I'm laughing right now is we were doing our episode, and I'm an idiot. I will take the L on this one, and didn't realize I hadn't recorded. And we went on a great little tangent there. And David and I have agreed to reiterate this tangent. It's the best we can. I'm so glad I caught it before we did the whole episode though.
I know, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I just happened to look and it said recording pause. That doesn't make sense. So all right, let's start from scratch again. This episode is a very casual one. We're going to be talking about what if, and usually we have a guest host. This time it's just me and David. You know, I haven't done one of these in a while. We kind of discussed, have we actually done one where it's just us two? And I'm still not convinced. I still think we've always done one, but we've done so many episodes. You realize between this and the D&D episodes, we've done over 60 episodes. And you've been a part of a good chunk of them too.
I'd have to go back and check and count, but I just appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you've been on, I would say at least, well, not including the D&D. I think you've been on at least 20, 25 between that number of them. You've been on a good chunk of them. And that was before you became co-host, you know?
Right, well, who's counting? Whatever.
You're right. So, but yeah, because the reason I wanted to do this episode is not to beat a dead horse, but to talk about a little bit about the background of what if is. And because people have come up to me, they're like, what's the point of what if? Why does this matter? What's the whole point of it? And so we'll kind of go in the history of it, kind of go over our little opinions and some of our favorite moments from the series, because the series has wrapped up, and just casually talk about it. So, but before we do that, let's do our traditional. David, what have you been up to?
Well, not a whole lot, I don't think, since our last episode. But the rant that I was going on,
yes,
before
let's reiterate this rant, because
right,
this is a good tangent.
Here's the rant, and it's October 13th, and Christmas is taking over all the stores.
Yeah. And
that's just outrageous.
Absolutely.
I mean, except for costumes, right? Because not everybody has a Halloween costume. I mean, Spirit of Halloween has popped up all over the place, and whether it's in a giant tent or the shell of a Toys R Us or some other closed store, Spirit of Halloween is out there, and they're still selling fog machines, and they're still selling yard decorations and costumes and all that. But if you go to any of the big box stores, if you go to Lowe's, if you go to Home Depot or Walmart or Target or wherever, most of their Halloween stuff is gone, and they've already rolled out their Christmas stuff. And some of them started it back in September.
That's completely
and that just
unacceptable.
Burns me up. Right. Let's have one holiday at a time, please.
Yeah.
And until Halloween, it's Halloween time. Christmas now, like I said, if a hobby stores or the craft stores, if it's AC Moore or Michael's or anything like that, Joann's, fine. Put your Christmas things out, because the crafters, the people that are making their own wreaths and their own yard decorations, or they're selling things on Etsy, they need Christmas stuff. I get it. That's fine.
No, I totally get behind that. And I hate, and I do, I hated it in November, going into Target or Home Depot, Lowe's, if you're in the Midwest, not Michael's, oh my God, Myers, or Menards,
right?
And seeing Christmas decorations, and it really does. It rubs me the wrong way, because I mean, yes, Thanksgiving's a holiday, but it's not really like one of those like money-making holidays. It is what it is, and I get it. But and it's always been in my family where like no Christmas songs, nothing's done before Thanksgiving. After Thanksgiving, it's fair game. And with the exception of last year, because 2020 sucked. So I said,
Right.
to my wife, hey, do whatever you want after Halloween.
Right. I mean,
And
I can kind of get behind putting Christmas stores and other things starting to put their Christmas stuff out Veterans Day.
fair
Um,
enough.
Disney, uh, Disney and a lot of those places, the destinations, they start putting their Christmas things out um, mid-November. Disney they had the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party. I think that started back in August. Um, but yeah, but I would just why now? Let's have one holiday at a time. Let's
Here's my only thing that I could think in their defense for why they're putting it out so early is they're trying to cash grab now as soon as they as soon as they possibly can because of last year. And
well,
that's my I again, I'm not defending them because to hell with them. I hate that they're doing it this early, but that would be my only thing that I could think that they would
well,
remotely justify it.
Disney has traditionally started putting their Christmas stuff out in November. And some of it's because people travel for holidays. And
Mhm.
Disney has also become one of those vacations that it used to be that a family of four could afford to go to Disney once a year. And now they've kind of priced that out. So people that go, if they go around the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, they want to see all this stuff and they want to
Mm.
see the gingerbread house of the Grand Floridian, or they want to see all the ornaments out at Epcot for Christmas around the world or whatever it is that they do. I I'm kind of okay with that. But like at our house, I mean, last year because of COVID, last year was a little bit different. But for the
Mm.
most part, uh, we don't put decorations up till Thanksgiving Day. Sometimes if we're not having Thanksgiving at our house, if not, it's always the day after. Although I'll also tell you that if the weather's nice and in mid November, if I have a nice weekend, that's the weekend when I'm putting lights on the roof
Yeah, and
because
I get that because you live in West Virginia, which is like
right,
all mountainous terrain. So like
right.
a storm gets caught in those mountains, it's there for a good minute.
Right. Well, we've had snow. We've had snow here very infrequently, but we've had snow as early as, early November.
Mm.
Um, or it could get cold or it could rain, and we've got a metal roof, and I do not get on the metal roof if it's even remotely wet, because you will slide right off.
Mm.
So if I have a nice weekend, I'll go ahead and put the lights up. I'll turn them on just to see which ones need to be replaced and which ones work. But after
Mm.
that, the timer they don't go on the timer till the day after Thanksgiving. Um, and then usually by New Year's weekend, we've taken everything down. But yeah, but just to go to the stores and not see a whole lot of Halloween decorations out in early October is just ridiculous. Um,
Absolutely.
Now I have not yet heard Christmas music. I mean, and I know Whamageddon doesn't start until December 1, but I fully expect to hear Last Christmas, in the store
Oh, that,
any time now. I mean, it's just
oh,
it's absurd.
I'm so glad I haven't actually gone to a store anytime soon, right? Because I would probably just flip. And I know I've already told the joke, but I'm going to say it again. And you know what? I don't even know if it's actually a joke. I think I'm starting to actually legitimately believe we should do this. Is as Halloween in October, we need to start fighting back and need to I feel like November is like no man's land, and we just need to start taking over November and
Sure,
hanging up Halloween, keeping our Halloween decorations until like the week of Thanksgiving. Like
sure, I can get behind
I'm
that.
almost I'm
Well,
gonna
I know a lot of people now who start celebrating Halloween in September.
yeah.
At Labor Day weekend, their Halloween stuff is going up, and they're like, "Yep, 60 days Halloween."
I really haven't had a chance. I didn't put up a lot of decorations this year just because I've
Mhm.
been stupid busy with like
Right.
everything. And but last year I did a bunch of stuff. However, I have like my pumpkins up. I have a skeleton sitting on my chair. The
Mhm.
kids call the twins call him Frank because they're like they said they look at me and they're like Liam and Isaac, Daddy, who's that? And I'm like, oh, Frank, and they're like Frank. So
Right.
like they just
Right.
would call him, like I said skeleton a few times, and they just like kind of looked at me. I'm like, I don't know, it's Frank. So that's Frank the skeleton, and so he will forever be dubbed Frank. Uh, I
Well,
sent you the picture of my booty pumpkin, right?
yes.
It's it decayed. It didn't
Uh,
last. I was like,
yeah.
oh,
Well, we put skeletons on the house.
yeah, which are
We
awesome.
got some on sale. I don't know if they were on sale, but we ordered some. They were like $30 for a 5 foot
Mm,
skeleton. The eyes don't light up, but it's good articulation. So I got some clips that clip to the siding, and I tied them with zip ties to the house.
yeah.
None of them have blown over yet, so I'm very happy about that. We've got a one big inflatable in the yard. Um, and then for trick or treat, usually we get together with our neighbors. Sometimes that's the only conversation I have with our neighbors. But I bought a fog machine a few years ago at Spirit of Halloween. And so we've rigged that into a cauldron so it blows smoke into the cauldron, and
Nice.
that's usually a big hit.
Nice.
Um,
Oh, speaking of neighbors, before I forget about this, I was actually talking to my next door neighbor. He was, because we were talking about Halloween and dressing up and everything. He's like, "Oh, is Halloween your thing?" And I'm like, "Dude, Halloween is so my thing. I've quite literally dressed up every year, even when I was active duty in the Navy out at sea. I dressed up in Scotland, and then they
okay.
don't celebrate it there really. And they were kind of looking at me like, what's going on? I'm like, it's Halloween. Oh yeah, that's an American holiday. And that, do you know how much of a culture shock that was when I realized Halloween is an American holiday?
Right.
Like I just automatically assumed that was a
Right.
holiday. Like I mean, I get like 4th of July. Yeah, that's totally an American holiday, and
Right.
that makes sense. However, Halloween just it blows my mind that it's not. And maybe now it's more cultural, but 10 years ago, far out 10 years ago. I'm getting old, dude.
Right.
Uh, it really wasn't. And so it blew my mind. But he was talking about how they're doing their costumes. I think he said they're doing farmers and everything. And there's like, oh yeah, we all wanted to be like Loki variants and everything. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. You totally should have done that. It's such a cheap costume. And I was telling him about you and everything. And he goes, yeah, I don't know. And then he was telling me how he's really into Power Rangers. And I'm like, oh my God, I just came out with the perfect costume for you. He goes, what's up? You get you a Green Ranger costume. You get one of the cheaper masks and everything. You
Mhm.
get 3D printed golden horns. You put that on
Yep.
and you take the knife thing that the Green Ranger, plays flute
Right.
thing, and you turn that into a Loki staff. I'm like, tell me that's not a dope Loki variant costume, the Green Ranger Loki.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you should have seen his eyes light up when I told him that. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, nerd. This
Right.
is what we do. And I said, I know so many cosplayers. If all I have to do is go, okay, Loki, Green Ranger, go, what can you come up with?
Right.
And it would be so much fun. Like, in the fact that because he has two, he has a very little baby. I want to say he's like 5 months old at the most. And an older one that's about actually turned 2. So he's about 2.5. So and him and his wife, they could all be different Power Rangers and they could all be Loki variants if they wanted to.
Right. Well, family costumes are great,
I
and
love it.
um, and you're right. A lot of folks are overseas. Canadians are usually better about it, but a lot of folks overseas are like, do Americans really celebrate Halloween for a month? Is it really a thing?
It
You
really is
know?
a thing.
Yeah.
And that's right. We have an international audience, so I should totally be we should totally be answering these questions. Yeah, no, Americans really do celebrate Halloween. I
Yes.
would I would celebrate it if they said, "Hey, you get all of fall." Oh my God, in a heartbeat.
Right. And other questions are: does candy corn really suck? Yes.
Yes.
Um, do people really? It's the one day a year when you can go around and collect candy from strangers. Um, do people give out edibles in their Halloween candy? No. Um, because there's always that rumor going around that, oh, check your kid's candy because somebody might put edibles in it. No one who has edibles is putting it in, is giving it away for free at Halloween.
No. I will say this, however, I was convinced last year, or not last year, but the year before, that my son did get an edible because no, and for real, here's the reason why. Because I've never believed into any of like the razor blades or poison, whatever, all that
Right.
stuff. No, but it was a single small gummy bear in a single sealed plastic bag. And I'm like, if it had been any other kind of thing, I wouldn't have batted an eye at it. but I legitimately like, and it didn't even look like a good gummy bear. Like it looked
Right.
weird. Like it wasn't a
Okay.
proper made one. And I was like,
So did you take it to test it?
I I called up my brother-in-law who's a detective, and I was like, dude, is this an edible? Like, and he's laughing at me at how like, vanilla I am in a goody goody. Like, I'm like, is this the devil's food or something? This is oh, and I was
Yeah.
he's like, there's only one way to find out. And I'm like, nope, not gonna risk it.
Yeah.
I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
I was
Try it and wait an hour.
yeah.
Let's see. What are the other questions we get from international people are: do people do group cosplays? Yes.
Yes.
Couples cosplays?
Yes.
Yes. Is
All the
there a
time.
dad tax on candy?
Yes. Oh, there
And,
there isn't a dad tax. There is dad is going trick or treating. Like dad is kid.
Right.
Like I go trick or treating hardcore.
right. Do teenagers who don't dress up get candy?
No.
Yes. Yes.
You give them candy?
Yes. Anybody who comes to my house will get candy, but I have a scale for it. And usually, what we do, this is what we do. We have a bowl of good candy, which is like the Snickers and the M&Ms and the Milky Ways and the Reese's. That goes in this bowl, and then we have a bowl of what I call the crappy candy. And the crappy candy is the hard candy, the candy corn, nerds, stuff that I would take to work to disappear.
Ooh, are you that person that gives that waxy black, the black and orange waxy butterscotch, whatever things?
Yes.
Like,
I buy that like I said, we usually buy a couple of bags of the good candy, and then we have a couple of bags of just the bulk, the 800 pieces for $7 or whatever. So when you come to our house, if you are a teenage kid who didn't bother to dress up, or if you are the adult who's pushing the toddler in a stroller because that 6-month-old is not eating the Snickers. Everybody who comes by to trick or treat gets candy. That's just how it goes, because we're a giving family like that, right?
All right.
Now, if you come and you're in a really good costume, you might get a handful from each bowl, or you might get a couple pieces from each bowl. If you come and you're dressed as Batman, and I say, do the voice, and you go, hey, I'm Batman, you get some more candy. If you're Anna and Elsa, and you belt out a couple of bars of, do you want to build a snowman? You get a lot of good candy. You get candy from each bowl. So the better your costume is, and the more you're into character, the more candy you get. Okay. And I always tell people that I have a standing offer that if you or your friends come to my house and you drop the operatic section of Bohemian Rhapsody, I will just give you all the candy that I have. No one's ever collected on that.
I'll get a couple friends. I'm coming to West Virginia just to do it. Like, oh my God, Bohemian Rhapsody? What? Oh, all day.
But see, because like I said, because we're all about Halloween. We're all about doing that. And if that's what kids want to do, if kids are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, and they want to walk around the neighborhood with a pumpkin or a pillowcase and trick or treat, keep doing it. I know where you are. I know what you're up to.
I will say this. I don't think I've ever actually had anybody not come in costume. But that was always my rule. I'm like, come on, dude. At least throw a sheet on your over you and be like, I'm a ghost.
I appreciate effort. And even if the only effort is walking down the street. Now, what we did last year because of COVID was we didn't have our bowls of candy out. What we did was we bought some bags, and some of the neighbors, we all got together and pooled our candy, and we put bags together, and each bag had probably 8 or 10 pieces of candy in it.
Yeah.
We said, and then what we did was we usually set up out in one of the neighbors. We live in a cul-de-sac. We usually set up in somebody's driveway. And last year I bought a Halloween tree from Big Lots, and the tree has a motor in it, and it spins around and it makes noise and all this other stuff. So we hung these bags off the tree, so that in a no contact world of what we were living in last Halloween because of COVID, as kids would come by, we had the cauldron with the smoke machine in it. And so it had smoke, and we had a couple other things out. We also usually have a cooler behind the table.
Mm.
And for the parents who are accompanying their kids, they might get a bottle of water or some Chardonnay or a beer out of the cooler.
There's a teacher. I don't want to say
And
teacher because I don't want to get her
and,
in
and so
trouble.
kids could come in and they would take the candy off the tree. And as you
Yeah.
know, as the tree depleted, we put more candy up. So that's what we did last year. We'll probably do something like that again this year.
Yeah.
Um,
There was a lady around my house, near my house. She gives out mold wine, warm mold wine. It was the first time I ever had it. Like we went trick or treating, and they're like, "You want some wine?" I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, kids get candy, adults get mold wine." And I'm like, "Oh,
you know what's also really good
what up?"
is because and we would also do this. We'd give you that option, but we have my wife would take a crock pot
Uh-huh.
and you fill the crock pot with apple juice.
Uh-huh.
And then you go get some Red Hots. We like Red Hots, but you could do this with hot tamales or any other hard candy, cinnamon
See,
hard
Red
candy.
Hots is totally a Southern thing. It's
Right.
totally a Southern
Right.
thing.
So you dissolve those in the apple juice and then you
Okay.
heat it up. And so then you have this cinnamon apple cider that's there. And
Okay.
then if you want, maybe
bit of
you
whiskey.
add some Fireball, or maybe you add some rum, or you add something to your cup as you scoop out. So if everybody doesn't drink, but you
Yeah.
could do this at a Halloween party, and you could add if you have depending on the size of your crock pot, add half a liter of Fireball or half a liter of some other
Okay.
the liqueur of your choice that would go with apple juice and cinnamon, and
All
that's
right.
really good to have. Number
There
one,
you go.
if it's really cold on Halloween night, it'll keep you warm,
That's
whether it's just from the warm apple juice or the liquor. But that's something that we usually also have available for trick or treaters for their parents.
nice.
So
That's awesome. I love Halloween. I posted up on Facebook, obviously, and I got my Composite Effects Incorporated mask yesterday. Literally, as soon as I got home from work, I went and ran to see it. Like the hell with the kids, the hell with my wife.
Right.
I want to see my mask. Now I waited till everybody was down and sleep and everything. And
I was about to say, have your kids seen you in this thing yet?
Oh yeah, actually, fun fact. Before I get into this, pulled it out, tried it on, absolutely love it. Today I was off, so I edited our episode because this has been a very busy since Saturday, and today is Wednesday. I have been very active and busy in the nerdy world.
Good.
We did our DNA or the D&D episodes. I edited them. I painted a bunch of miniatures for you.
Okay.
Which they're coming your way next week because you needed some miniatures. And so yeah, I got my mask. And so today, because I was off, I take the twins for a walk while because Ethan's at school and everything. And they were looking at their costumes. They're like, dragon. I'm like, you guys want to dress up as dragons? You got it, buddy. We'll dress up as dragons. So I put them in their dragon costumes and got them in. And I was like, you know what? I'm dressing up as mine. And they've seen the mask. So what I did, I tried it on one time to see how they reacted. One of the twins, Liam, he's got balls of steel. He just looked and he goes, "Hey, Dad." And he's like, "Good." He's like, "Cool." And the other one's like, "Ooh, stranger danger. I don't know if I like it." So I took it off, let them play with it. Totally cool with it. They saw me put it back on and they were totally fine with it. And they were laughing. They think it's awesome. And so I just put on my DNA like blue shirt and got on my one wheel because that's how I pull them in the wagon. I don't know if you've ever pulled a kid, but in a wagon, but they're kind of heavy, let alone pulling two for like 3 mile walk is just ridiculous. So I get on my one wheel. Just ride around. So we're rocking our costumes and I've got my helmet on actually over my mask. That's how good it is. Like I can fit safety equipment over this stuff and be absolutely fine. And we're riding around town. And I'm hoping people post up pictures on like the Southington Talks of us riding around because there's people looking at us waving and going, "Oh my God, that's so cool."
Right.
And we had a blast. We had a blast. I've got to give Composite Effects so much props on this mask. Like it it literally molds to your skin. It forms around it. My visuals were pretty good. The only thing, I couldn't really breathe out of my nose, but
Okay.
it's a snake mask, so you really don't have like nostrils. I could hear really well. The ear holes were phenomenal.
Okay. Good.
I did have to put on some eyeshadow and everything.
Right.
I've discovered I do not have the skills to do my own eyeliner and everything. I'm not that good. So
Yet.
my wife is going to have
Yet.
to help me out. Yet. Give me time.
Right.
Um, it was
So,
so much fun to wear.
so when you put this mask on,
Yeah.
does it have a zipper or something in the back, or
No,
does it
it
just
is
stretch over your
it's
chin?
it's silicone, I believe is what it is.
Okay.
It's a silicone mold. You have to put your hands in, and I'm doing the visuals, but like obviously people can't see. You have to do them like straight, and you have to put it up into the mask and kind of stretch it over, and
Okay.
then you go over the back and then over your chin, and you do the
Okay.
reverse when you're taking it off. And when they ship it to you, they actually come with a styrofoam head of
Okay.
basically, if you get a masculine mask, it
Right.
has a typical different shape, and there's a body mold styrofoam for that. And if you get more feminine mask, there is a female styrofoam shape under that to help complement and keep the molding
It's
as much as
like the
possible.
wig contour head, right?
Yes, kind of like
Okay.
that. Yeah, and it's amazing. And they come with a sheet that comes with a little sheet that says, "Hey, this is the stuff we recommend that you use when wearing it." Like they say, put on some baby powder,
Right.
and the mold, put on baby powder. And when here's how to properly clean it. If you get the gloves, don't try to put it in a glove hand. You're going to destroy it. Get the foam noodles. If you
Right.
don't want to ever wear it and you want to just to have it on display, here's the things we recommend. They give you so much. They don't set you up for failure.
So
And
do you put a skull cap on too, or do you just put the baby
no,
powder on?
I will say this: next time I put it on, I am shaving.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is another thing I actually wanted to talk to you about. Not that you really grow facial hair. I don't know if you can do it at work. Are you? You can grow facial hair at your business, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to
Yes.
do? Do you want to do No Shave November together?
No.
No. Oh, come on, do it with me. Why do
I
you?
don't.
You don't
I
grow?
don't. I don't do facial hair.
What do you mean you don't do facial hair?
It grows in splotchy
Is it
on
bad? Is
me.
it that bad?
Yes.
Oh,
And I think it's gross. Yeah.
I just love how serious it. Like, you are usually the most relaxed person when it comes to anything, and this is like the one thing that I found. Like, I just insulted your mother, sort of like no, absolutely not. No, we don't
No,
talk about that.
no chance. No, I, I, I never have. I mean, it's. I just do not
You
have
got
a lot of.
mustache?
No.
Wow, really? Wow, I'm
I look
shocked.
awful.
I want to see it now so bad. What would it take you? What would it take to get you to do No Shave November, or at least for you, mustache November?
There would have to be a lot of money and a lot of zeros. My wife has been trying to talk me into doing some kind of either a mustache or
just
the
do a mustache.
goatee.
Just do a mustache for charity. Do it for charity. Come on.
When I cut this quarantine haircut, when I cut my quarantine hair off, eventually that's going to go to Wigs for Kids or one of those
Okay.
charities. That's the extent of my hair related.
You're like, I do enough charities as it is. I draw the line at mustaches. Like, I absolutely not.
Yeah, no, but my employer, we have a very loose dress code, and the deal I have with my wife with my hair is as long as it's reasonably neat and reasonably clean. It's
don't ever give me your wife's information, because I will try to get her to convince. Like, we'll team up on you. I will get everybody in the MMCC to team up on you to get you to grow a mustache. Like, I don't even care about the rest. It doesn't have to be a goat. Like, you can either be like a soul patch or a mustache. I just want one or the other.
Good luck with that, because we've been married for we've known each other for 25 years and she's not been able to make it happen.
All right, well, you're a bum.
Yeah,
but I am going to be doing that. I'm actually
Okay.
going to do I do my whole head and everything, which
Right.
I don't really keep my hair anyways, but I've just been lazy. But come Halloween, because I definitely need to shave, because you can feel the difference
Right.
in the mask where like my hair scrumping up on my mouth. And
I can see that.
yeah, it's so good. And it's the like there is almost a little bit of like the Batman cowl like stiffness to the neck. Cause
Right.
like discovered myself looking up and down, not just bending my head a little bit, but I like it. I like the
Now
mask.
the sizing on it, do
It
you have
does
to
have a
use?
distance. It does give it when you look in your ordering, it does have all that information, like what they
Okay,
recommend.
well, because I mean, like around the eyes, do you have to use like a latex glue or something to keep like the eyes or the
No,
ears from bulging out? Okay.
no,
Oh, that's
it's
good.
like I was so yeah, that's what I was so thoroughly like impressed with it is when I put it on, it suctioned. And so I
Okay.
had to grab different pieces and move it.
Right.
I had to adjust it and get it to where it was proper. Um, it the way this one is designed, it does push a little bit more on my eyes, and
Okay.
it does give me, I will say, snakier eyes. Uh,
Okay.
there's different masks, and and when I had interviewed them, they told me like some of them had better visibility than others, and so I
Okay.
took that in consideration when I was looking at what mask I wanted, and
Right.
so
Because like when they do like in a movie, like if you were going to
mm,
be on Star Trek as a Ferengi or
mm,
any of these others, usually what they'll do is they'll make a cast of the actor's face, and then they'll make a mask just for them, whether
mm.
it's Worf in his headpiece or whatever. So in this case, you didn't have to get a scan of
No,
your
now
head.
you can do custom stuffs with them. Like
Okay.
they are stupid open to any ideas.
Okay.
Even the Viper mask that I got, because I went very vanilla. Um,
Right.
I was like, okay, if I'm going to pick a mask, I want something that I can utilize for multiple things. So I can use this as a Yanti, I can use this as an alien, I can use this for D&D, I can use it in multiple things. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to I can even be some type of alien Jedi, snake Jedi. I'm sure there's something out there.
Navigator First Class Grig
I can do that too.
from
Yeah.
The Last Starfighter.
Yeah. Uh
You
there's
get your kid to
some
be Alex Rogan.
oh, that would be epic. That would
All he
be
needs is a
awesome.
flannel shirt and goofy hair.
It's not
See?
that hard. But
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been
there's
recruited by the Star League. Yeah.
there's so many different options with that one, and that's why I went with it.
Sure. Okay. Good.
Um, but it's where was I going? Oh, there are a ton of options. There's some of them I were looking at, they had less visibility.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I wanted something very vanilla to where I can get the most bang for
Right.
my buck,
Yes.
if you will. And yeah, no, I'm very much enjoying it.
Did you get the gloves too?
No, I didn't go do gloves. So what I'm doing, I actually found on Amazon. There are some like spandex, it's a brown tan spandex gloves.
Okay.
They have reptile ones, but they didn't have ones that I felt like would go properly, in my
Right.
opinion, right now with with these. And honestly, I don't know how I feel personally wearing the gloves, because it's silicone
Right.
and you're going to be grabbing stuff, and I feel like, in all honesty, you're probably going to wear the hell out of those gloves. And for the price of like $500-600, I don't see that. Now personally, for me, that's not worth it, because I know I would
Yes.
destroy those gloves. The material it's made of has a life expectancy of about 20 years, which is impressive. However, I feel like your gloves, depending on how actively you are with them, you might get like maybe 5.
Right. Well, and the other thing also you have to consider when you're building any costume,
Yeah.
there's a list of things that you need to make sure that you can do in your costume.
Yeah.
Especially if you're like me and you go to events and you don't know if you're going to have a handler or not.
Yeah.
And one of the most important things you need to know whether you can do in your costume or not is whether you can go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And whether you can answer your phone. And if
You definitely can't with those.
And if you can't do those in your costume, you need to find a way to be able to do those, unless you know 100% for sure that when you're in that costume, you will have a handler whose sole job is to follow you around. And in a lot of cases with, even with smartphones, if you're wearing silicone gloves, that aren't reactive to touch screens, if there's an emergency, you can't make a call, you can't receive a call, you can't make or receive text messages or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just always a good idea, just to make sure that when you're out at an event,
Yeah.
that you always have either someone with you, or that that you can do everything that you would need to do yourself. Like I said, it's can you pee? Can you poop? Can you eat? Can you get to your wallet? Can you just a short list of things that you need to be able to do any everyday functions. Can you walk up and down stairs?
Yeah.
Which in your mask isn't an issue,
No.
but that's just something that the more you
Oh yeah,
cosplay and the
and
more you
I will
events.
say 9 out of 10 of those things I can do. Like I can eat in it. I probably wouldn't.
Right.
If I am, it's going to be liquidy stuff.
Yes.
But no, it's a good mask.
Good. It looks good. I was checking out their website when you sent me the link, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So they look like they do good work. Now, that's the thing. You always pay for good work, but good work is worth it.
Oh, it's totally like they are pricey, no doubt about it. They do work with you. I say they are totally worth their money.
Good.
Like it's now I can definitely vouch for it. But yeah, other than that, let's see. Painted up. I painted again because I painted 5 miniatures this week too,
Good.
which was really nice. I most of them were yours, but it was fine. It was nice getting back into painting because I actually haven't done it in a while. I've been in a funk about not painting.
Okay.
And so it's legitimately the second I got your miniatures, I was like, you know what? I'm going downstairs. I primed them. And that night I started and I finished the first one. And then the next day I popped out 2 more, which was one of yours and then a dwarf for the guy, my monsters and mailman. And then the last 2 were your elf wizard one. And
well, I appreciate you doing that. I mean, the
Oh,
pictures they look great. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think I want to say that's it, except I've been watching a lot of stuff because Comic-Con for New York City is commenced right now. Yes, I believe so.
It's over.
Yes, yeah, just finished up. That's what I meant. Yeah, it's finished because it started on my anniversary. Which I did I tell you I think I have the best wife ever?
Okay.
All right. So because she asked me, she goes, why aren't you going to Comic-Con in New York? And I said, well, starts well, October 7th was day 1. That's my anniversary. I was like, because it's our anniversary weekend.
Right.
And she goes, and we're going to a wedding. And she goes, and I'm sorry, what? First, either A, she's cheating on me, or B, she's freaking awesome.
Right.
So like I was like, all right, if you're having an affair and this is the best way you want to get me out, like, hey, Steve, go to Comic-Con. All right.
Well, see now that you know that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, next year, totally gonna happen.
So, but next year, if tell her, hey, for our anniversary, let's go to New York City.
Oh yeah, no, shoot. So here's the thing, because we went to that that's the other thing. It has been a very nerdy event for me. This wasn't supposed to be this long of a tangent.
That's all right.
We went to the Ren Fair wedding, and we had it. I knew I was going to have a decent time. Because I get to cosplay. Everybody, my sister-in-law, my wife, they had this amazing time dressing up, and they loved how they're eating, everything about it. And they go, is this what Ren fairs are like? And I'm like, this is a good stepping stone for what a Ren fair is. There's lots of food, there's lots of party. It's very festive, very upbeat, very happy-go-lucky. There's jousting, there's theatrics, there's so much that goes into it. And they're like, we want to start doing Ren fairs. Unfortunately, we're at the end of Ren fair season. So it's like there is one that's going on right now. And I think it has a couple more weekends, but it's a 3-hour drive to go to it from where we are right now. And it's, as much as I would love to, planning it in this short of a notice, it's probably not going to happen. So, but there's next year. This is all I go, okay, well, now we know that they definitely are into it, and we can plan for the next year.
Right.
So
Because the new do you know when the New York Ren Fair runs? Is that the one you're talking about?
no, Massachusetts. The
Okay.
Massachusetts. It's the King Richards Renaissance Fair, because there's the Connecticut one, there's a King Richards, there's a New York. I know Columbus, Ohio has a big one. There's one up Midsummer Gardens, I think it's up around Chicago, has a really awesome one, like freaking
There's
amazing.
one. I was in. This is 2017. I was in Baltimore, doing training with my job, and there was the Pennsylvania Ren Fair, which is which was north of Baltimore. It was like an hour and a half north of Baltimore, so it might be
There's got to
an
be
hour
one
west of
in
Philadelphia.
there's one in Around in Maryland, because
The
I used to
Maryland
go.
Ren the Maryland Ren Fair is really nice. I
That's the
have
one I
friends
used
who
to go to when I was a
okay.
kid.
I,
Is that
I have friends who some of them work there, and a lot of them frequent that one. Um, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm stoked. Like it's really really nice to see how much nerd culture is in now. Like people are a lot more comfortable around for it. And I honestly, I'm not a huge fan of them, but I got to give them credit where credit is due. Uh, Critical Role has definitely broken the mold for a lot of stereotypes and made nerd culture pop culture. And I honestly don't feel like I would have been able to do this without them and Marvel very much breaking those molds and the fandoms for us.
I,
Because
I agree. I think, and a lot of people don't like to admit this, and a lot of nerds don't like the show, but the Big Bang Theory
oh yeah,
also
no,
had
absolutely.
have
I totally forgot
tremendous
about that.
influence. It had
Yeah.
tremendous influence in bringing nerdy things and things that were stereotypically nerdy into mainstream culture, and
Yeah.
even like a show like How I Met Your Mother. There were a lot of Star Wars references on
There
How I
was
Met
a
Your
lot
Mother
of Star Wars
and
references.
that 70s show. And but the one that really brought it in to me was Big Bang Theory. Now, I also have a lot of problems with the Big Bang Theory, because I think it depicts people very stereotypically, or it did early on, and later on it kind of the characterizations branched out a little bit, and the characters developed some depth. But for the most part, they tried to get the science right. They tried to get the references right. Um, and even though, when you read Jim Parsons, when he says, "Oh, I'd never seen a Lord of the Rings movie," but he delivered the lines and you believed him.
Mhm.
And you're right. And Critical Role has also brought a lot of people into Dungeons and Dragons who might not have been there before. Joe Manganiello also plays. I don't think he has a podcast, but there are a lot of folks.
Conan. Oh yeah, we went on this whole tangent
The
because like Conan O'Brien,
Stephen
Stephen
Colbert,
Colbert,
Deborah Ann Woll, the actress, Vin Diesel.
Robin
They're all big
Williams.
D&D players. So
Yeah,
yeah.
there's so many
So yeah,
40K
you're
nerdy
right.
players, man. It's great.
Yes.
and
So
and that's why I think that's why I love this stuff, is that like it's now that those stereotypes are, I mean, the stereotypes exist for a reason. They're very much a thing. However, it's always nice, and that's why I love doing the Monsters and Mailman, because it's breaking those boundaries and for people to get into it a little bit more. But let's go ahead and, after this wonderful tangent, because this was a great tangent, let's get into our subject of the night. What if? So, what if has actually been around for a while. If I'm not mistaken, it started in 1977. The first issue, I believe, was "What If Spider-Man Joined the Fantastic Four?" Did you ever read that issue?
no.
No. Now I
I
know you were a little bit of a comic book collector, and was What If ever your cup of tea?
Not really. I I
You're
collected
just all sorts of
comics.
negatives tonight, aren't you? You won't grow a mustache. You won't read.
It's not that I wouldn't read What If. It's just I found okay. So the premise of the What If comics was they would take one event in whatever happened,
Yep.
usually in some past character, and they would say, well, what if something changed? What if somebody made a different choice? What if there was a different outcome of a battle or something like that? And then for the rest of the issue, they would go on and they would take that out to its logical extreme. And sometimes the world was a better place, and sometimes the world was not a better place at the end of it. But it was always designed to be a one shot.
Mm.
The only what if comic that I actually paid money for was what if Wolverine had killed the Hulk?
Do you still own that one?
Yes, I have it in a box somewhere.
Nice.
But it's because a lot of people don't know this about Wolverine, but Wolverine started out as he was a villain, and he popped up, and I think he was an antagonist for the Hulk. Then and then after that, he goes on and joins the X-Men and becomes the most popular of the X-Men historically. But the what if as a franchise, that's what it was. It was always designed to be a one shot. And I collected most of the X titles, beginning with the Executioner song in the early 90s up through the Age of Apocalypse in about 1997, 98. I also, in the 80s, I collected G.I. Joe and the Transformers too. Nice. But what if was never really my thing, because like I said, my primary focus, the titles I read the most were the X comics. And so but what if would bring in, like you were talking about, it would bring in Spider-Man, it would bring in the Fantastic Four, it would bring in Ghost Rider, it would bring in, a lot of these other characters that I didn't have any interest in. And so I thought, well, why would I pay money for a title if you don't know the backstory? The what if really doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. And they were always, now I know the show, it's most of the things are very, very subtle little changes for the most part. And it's to emphasize the butterfly effect. Yes. However, in the comics, at least, especially during the earlier issues, it was extreme things. It wasn't subtle little things. It wasn't like, what if Magneto took a left instead of a right? It was like you were saying, what if Xavier died?
Right.
And what would happen? Actually the very first one I ever got into was, and because I'm a Deadpool guy, was what if Venom possessed Deadpool?
Okay.
And it was good. It was all right. I mean, it was Deadpool. It was goofy. I never took it seriously, even for like Deadpool issues. Right. I'm a huge fan. Like, I love, like, my soups are Venom, Doctor Strange, Deadpool. So I've been very lucky in the Marvel universe, and Moon Knight, who is now coming out with stuff. And then like my villains have always been like Taskmaster, Carnage, Dormammu. Okay. And so those are my guys. And so I've been very lucky with my stuff that has come out. And so when I saw two of my things, I was like, oh, this will be cool. And it was Deadpool, goofy, wasn't really too much. But yeah, these were just one-offs.
Yes.
There are now, like I said, I believe the Sharon Carter or Agent Carter Captain America actually does have a comic book series, but I don't quote me completely on that. Okay. I actually think she did get a comic book series. I know it has, like, the show itself, because it has wrapped up.
Mm-hmm. Is this a spoiler alert?
Yes. Okay. Spoiler. Yeah. Let's give our, like, hey, we are going to talk about, if you haven't figured out past our tangent, if our 30-minute tangent wasn't enough of a window for you to stop listening, you know what, the hell with your spoiler alert, because legitimately we went on a tangent. If at this point you haven't said, hey, you know what, I should probably stop listening because I haven't finished what if, no, you deserve to get it spoiled at this point. Right. I'm putting my foot down on this one.
Right. That's fair.
So what were your thoughts on it?
I mean, I liked it. I mean, I like the general premise of what if, and because it's also, as a history major, because I have 2 degrees in history. That's one of the things that is always fun about history as a thought experiment. What we call it iffy history.
Mm.
And what if this happened? And some people make a career out of it, writing books about iffy history.
Mm.
And that's kind of what the What If comics are. And that's kind of what the What If show is in the context of the MCU.
Mm.
Now, the other thing that I think at the high level, at the very high level of what they're doing with What If, I don't know if any of these characters will show up in the MCU. Offhand, I would say no, but I'll talk more about this in a second.
Okay.
But one of the things that they introduce in Loki or that they really reinforce in Loki is the multiverse, right? That was kind of the thing at the end, is that there were all these alternate dimensions and alternate Lokis, and the TVA is responsible for maintaining the sacred timeline. Yeah. But there are all these alternate dimensions out there where different things happen. And we see Kid Loki. Kid Loki is the one who killed Thor as a child before he got pruned. And, there's classic Loki who, instead of fighting Thanos, like, Tom Hiddleston's Loki does, he runs and hides, and so on, and Alligator Loki and so on. And so I think part of this is they're reinforcing the idea of this multiverse. And at the end of it, in the last 2 episodes, they introduce the concept that the barriers between the multiverses can be broken and that people can cross over. I'm not sure that I really cared for that in the context of this show. Mm. And because I'm looking at the episode list right now. Okay, so if the first 7 episodes are self-contained one-shots, right? It's what if there were zombies? What if Doctor Strange's girlfriend dies, and he, instead of him losing use of his hands?
I before you go any further, I don't consider I get they did do the Marvel Zombies as a what if, but the Marvel Zombies were never a what if series, which kind of irks me a little bit, because it was a series that was just it was its own thing. It wasn't a what if. It was just Marvel Zombies. And they were great, and they did okay.
Well, but they bring them in for a very specific reason. I mean, because they show up in the last episode. So elements of all of the episodes are brought together at the end.
Yeah,
where they have the crossover between the first 7 episods, and then
because the Watcher interacts and they're shattering. Yeah,
right. So that's my only beef with it conceptually. But like I said, I would not be surprised if some of these alternate characters are integrated into the MCU. We already have one, right? Gamora. The Gamora from the alternate timeline is in the MCU. Mm-hmm. Because Gamora, Prime Gamora, she died on Vormir in Infinity War. And at the end of Endgame, there is a Gamora who never knew Star-Lord running around. So in some ways, the timeline has already crossed. They've brought in an alternate dimension character. And then with the Loki series, and when they eventually get around to introducing Kang the Conqueror, maybe they'll bring some of these other characters in. I was very impressed that they got a good number of the main MCU actors to be their voice talent. And some of the characters, I don't know if it was an availability issue or if they didn't want to pay Robert Downey Jr.'s fee or what.
They didn't get John Batista either for Drax.
Dave Bautista?
Yeah. No. Did I not say Dave? What did I say?
You said John.
I did say John, didn't I? My bad.
That's all right.
Dave. But yes, Dave Bautista.
But they got Haley Atwell. They got Sebastian Stan.
Yep.
They got Stanley Tucci. I'm just going down the list. So they got a bunch of the people, but then they bring in some other like A-level voice talent. Fred Tata, well, the guy who Soldier 76 in Overwatch. I can't ever say his name.
Mm.
And also it was also very nice. This was Chadwick Boseman's last appearance in the MCU.
That's a little heartbreaking to think about.
It is, to know that, he kept his diagnosis of cancer secret from basically everyone. I mean, you talk to people like actors who were in movies with him, and they're like, we didn't know. But looking back, we can see that, oh, he was very tired or something like that. And they're like, we didn't know he was fighting cancer. And so to be able to hear Chadwick Boseman again, that was very touching. And then you realize that at the end of the last episode, you're like, that's his final performance.
And it was very well, the episode, what if what if it was a different Star Lord?
Yes.
And it was a well done episode, and it's actually one of my favorites of the series. Honestly, what brought me to this series was I was excited about seeing the Marvel Zombies, even though it wasn't a what if. It made me excited to watch it. However, the Star Lord, the what if Ultron one, and what if Strange lost his heart instead of his hands,
okay,
were like the Doctor Strange one, bar none, is my favorite episode, because I don't think anybody in that situation would have acted any differently. It's almost impossible. I feel like it's like he wanted to save her so badly, and they're just like, this is not going to happen. This is what is going to happen is going to happen. You have to accept it. And he that's rough. That was a tough one to watch. That was a hard pill to swallow, especially in cartoon form. That's something I didn't go in expecting them to hit on feels on that level.
Well,
yeah.
and they can do things with the cartoon that you can't in real life, even with the level of CGI that you have, that we have available. So that was very. I thought the writing was good. I thought the story was done very well. Again, my beef with the series as a whole is that I don't know that I particularly care for the crossover. Oh, and then the other thing that I also disliked was that in the last episode, in episode 9, you meet Gamora, who is carrying Thanos's double blade, and then there's Tony Stark standing next to her in some giant Iron Man costume that we'd never seen before. And that's an episode that they just didn't finish in time. So those characters, when the Watcher plucks her but not Stark out of that dimension, it's kind of like, where did she come from? What the hell is that about? There is a story that should have been told, but they didn't finish the episode, and so that episode got pushed to season 2. And so there should have been a 10-episode arc instead of 9.
Interesting.
And so that was to me the only part of the last episode that was just kind of really like, what? Where did Gamora come from? Why is Gamora there? Why is Gamora? That was because of I read it was because of scheduling and COVID, and they just couldn't finish the episode. Yeah. They couldn't get it through post-production in time. So that's going to pop up next year. And then it's kind of like, well, I don't know that we really need to see that episode because, we already know what happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious to see I hope the what if universe stays in the what ifs. Am I honest? I hope it doesn't start playing into the actual MCU. Would I mind seeing some of these guys pop into the MCU live action as like cameo appearance characters of multiverse? No, I wouldn't be against it. But do I think it's something that should probably stay in its own little sandbox? Yes.
I agree.
Just because I feel like it's playing with something that is way too open-ended. Now you being that you said that we had our first experience with Gamora being a multiverse character. Now this is a spoiler. Um, and I won't even spoil it for you if you don't want me to. Because you haven't seen Venom, the new Venom movie.
You talking about the end credit scene?
Yes, the end credit scene.
I've heard about it.
Okay, so I will give listeners 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the end credit scene is Tom Hardy, Eddie is hanging out. Him and Venom, they're in a cabana, just chilling and everything, and the multiverse thing happens, and it's pretty much assumed it's either it's either Kang, the killing of Kang, or B, it's the Doctor Strange and Spider-Man
right
thing, because the reason I say it might be the Kang incident is because Peter Parker's on the news and that's happening at that moment, whereas in the trailer for Peter Parker, it's that multiverse whatever explosion happens after.
Okay,
that's my running theory right now with that. But either way, it's Venom has been brought in. Venom and Spider-Man are now actually in the first time they've been in together, and I say that loosely because he's watching a video of him
right
in cinematography since the first time in Disney history.
right. Okay, I have heard about that. You know, with all of the rights battles, after Marvel had to sell off all of the most valuable properties back in the 90s. I mean, Disney they're going out of their way to bring all of the prodigal properties home.
I don't blame them.
Well, that's why they bought Fox. They
Yeah.
bought Fox, not why they bought Fox, but that was, I think, one of the major factors in them buying Fox was to get the X-Men back and get the Fantastic Four back.
Speaking of X-Men, have you gone back and watched the original X-Men movie?
The first one?
Yeah.
Not in a while.
Go do it. Go do it. I strongly encourage everyone to go back and do it. It is horrible. It is god awful. Like, I went back and recently watched it because I was like, because they're on Disney Plus. I'm like, oh, let me go back and watch this. Oh, it's bad. And like, even like Wolverine's hair, it's bad, dude. It's bad.
I can see that.
Strongly encourage it though. So bad. It's so bad, dude. Go. Sorry, not to get you on a tangent, but yes, they did. They want to get everybody back in their sandbox, right. And I don't blame them for wanting to do it because that's a lot of money on the table. And while Sony was able to do an animation version, and it's by far one of the best pieces of Marvel cinematography I've ever seen, especially the fact that they drew the word bagel when he threw a bagel and it hit the scientist in the back of the head. Did you know that? Did you know that little tidbit?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay. Right. But it's very well done. It hits a lot of feels and it brings in Miles Morales, and I thought that was amazing. But yeah, nobody does Marvel like Disney. They've got the algorithm down. They know how to make a good piece of cinematography. And so it's
because they have the budget. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, Marvel and Star Wars are Disney owns both, but that's where they're throwing all of their money because they can, and they've swallowed up a lot of smaller studios. And the other nice thing about Marvel is they have a plan.
Yeah, and
that's been their strong suit since 2008, since Iron Man, the first Iron Man movie. Now, whether they leave What If as its own side project, I like you, I would be very happy if they did. If they left it alone, if it were its own self-contained little universe. But it also would not surprise me if some of those characters showed up.
Like, I can see Sharon Carter, Captain America coming into play.
Yes.
Like I can see her, and I can see I can't see the zombies, and obviously we're not going to get T'Challa, but
Right.
yeah, it's really the only one I think I could honestly see. Oh, by the way, did you know in every single What If that they featured Iron Man, he dies, or Robert Downey Jr., he dies. Like it's like,
Well,
oh,
except for the one where he's with Gamora, but
oh
that
yes,
wasn't the full
yes,
episode. But
yes, because
you're
yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah,
Um, well, okay. So the things that they introduce two concepts is that Doctor Strange can break the barriers between the dimension, the universes, and so can the Infinity Stones,
yes,
because that wasn't something that Thanos. Maybe Thanos just didn't try, because in What If Ultron won, that's what happens at the end of that is Vision, instead of being stopped by the Avengers, Ultron uploads himself into Vision's body with the Mind Stone. Of course, then that raises another question. Ultron in Vision's body, when Thanos shows up, he just zaps him and cuts him in half. Well, Paul Bettany's Vision, what the hell? Why didn't you do that?
maybe he didn't have the power to.
He had the Mind Stone. That's all he
Yeah,
had.
but so counter. Not all of his powers and capabilities were being utilized at the time, and even when we saw in WandaVision, him and Wanda's powers like totally
Well,
beefed up. Even Loki in the Loki show, his powers you got to see like he was definitely being nerfed a lot.
to quote Deadpool, that's just lazy writing. But the other,
it's true. It's
but
true.
the other thing is the other function of him just killing Thanos, slicing him in half with the Mind Stone. What? And your other argument is that Vision is not as ruthless as Ultron is. Vision may have had the capability of doing that, but he didn't have the will. Whereas Ultron in Vision's body doesn't have any compunction. Ultron is blowing up the world because he read the internet for 5 minutes and decided humanity shouldn't exist. But the other function of that does is Thanos at that point has the other 5 Infinity Stones, and Vision just takes them. No, I shouldn't say Ultron just takes them. Vision doesn't take them. Ultron takes the other. That's how he gets all of the Infinity Stones. And at that point, then he starts going across the dimensions and just wiping them out one at a time. And that's what causes the Watcher to intervene. So, but you're right. I think Captain Carter, I think, was a good character. That came out of that. Doctor Strange was another good character that I think would, we'd be very interested to see. Frat boy Thor, I thought was a little less interesting.
Yeah, I really wasn't. It was like,
Right. Yes, I think it was supposed to be more of a fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of episode.
I don't think they were all supposed to be serious. I think some of them were just like it was like the what ifs. So, but taking everything that you've seen in What If, what would you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the series?
I'll probably give it a 7. I mean, it's
You're
good.
generous. You're generous. I was going to give it. I said I was going to say a 5 or a 6. Like it's not great because not every I don't expect every episode to be a zinger, but considering we only got like what 9, 10 episodes, 30 minutes a piece, 20, 30 minutes a piece. Right. I would have expected a little bit more out of them, and maybe we didn't get that because of the COVID, because we were missing an episode. I feel like it was a hit or miss with whether or not the episode was going to be a good watch. Like I said, I wasn't into the Captain America one. The Doctor Strange one was amazing. The T'Challa one was amazing. Zombies was
Well, I think the thing with the MCU is, and I think I mentioned this before. The thing that makes the MCU interesting and compelling is that there's always another step. So even if you don't particularly care for Ant-Man, for example, you kind of have to know at least what's going on in the Ant-Man movie because it's going to pay off 3 movies later.
Yeah.
At its heart, if you take What If as a standalone each episode of What If as a standalone episode,
Mm.
it kind of loses its impact because once it's over, it's done. Um, and then the next week you're going to go on to something else. I think where they brought everything together and tried to make it into a single narrative with with 8 parts, episodes 1 through 8, and then tied them all up in episode 9. I think they tried to bring in a little bit of MCU narrative, because otherwise what you have is Star Wars Visions. And I don't,
Yeah.
have you been watching Star Wars Visions?
I haven't had a chance. No, I want to, though. That is on my list. Now, here's the other thing. I will mention this. I think part of the problem with What If is they're only using characters that we've already seen. I don't know if we were discussing that or if I had heard it was discussing with somebody else, that they're only using characters that we have seen in cinematography. They're not using anybody that we have. There's no Adam Warlock. There's no, like, we know it's been confirmed now. He is definitely coming in Galaxy 3.
Right.
So, we're not seeing anybody that hasn't been played with already.
Right. Well, right. Because the What If show is solely has to do with the MCU. It's only the MCU version of those characters. That's why there's no Fantastic Four. That's why there's no Silver Surfer. That's why they're, like you were talking about, all these other characters that we haven't seen before. That's why there are no X-Men.
Yeah.
Whereas the comic books, the What If comics,
there's tons. There's like 22 volumes.
Right. All of the MCU, not MCU, all of the Marvel characters were fair game for the What If comics.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand that what they're doing. And the other thing is they're trying to generate content to keep people subscribed to Disney Plus. And so in order to do that, they're only going to use characters that you've seen in an MCU movie. Now, going forward, if there's a What If season 2, season 3, in the next round, they could have characters from Black Widow. They could have characters from, the upcoming Eternals movie. They could do more with Spider-Man. They could do more with some of these other characters that they're going to be introducing in phase 4.
Ooh, what if Agatha became the Scarlet Witch?
Sure. Yes.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Right. Well, and Scarlet Witch, I don't know what they're going to do with her, but at the end of WandaVision, it looked like they were kind of setting her up to be a villain or an anti-hero, or to have some sort of turn.
I bet you so based on what we've seen, especially from the trailer, so she was reading the book, right? She was sitting there reading and learning everything, because was it confirmed that was that? Okay. Was it? I thought it was going to be like the Necronomicon or something. That's what it was.
No, it was the Darkhold that she got her hands on at the end of WandaVision.
And she looks up, right? What if that is her realizing Stephen Strange did something really screwed up? Like, that is where that situation happens. Like, it times up perfectly where she's sitting there reading and all of a sudden, like, oh crap, and realizes something's happening with the multiverse. Or it could be her realizing Kang just got killed.
Right. Or her realizing that she can change reality. I mean, she is, I think, they were talking about Kevin Feige. I saw in an interview, somebody asked him, who's the most powerful Avenger? And his answer was Scarlet Witch.
Oh, yeah. Well, she's always been stupid OP too. That's the great thing.
Sure. Well, yes. I mean, she made all but 198 mutants go away in the Marvel comics. I mean, and then I think they said after her is Captain Marvel. But so I mean, they have options. I would be happy if they left What If just to be its own side project. So. But if I like we were both saying, it would not surprise me if some versions of these characters show up in other capacities as well.
Yeah. So, you know what? I think this is a good spot to wrap this up. So any final thoughts on What If besides, I mean, like I said, you just gave me, I think, a great wrap up.
Right. Well, I am looking forward to season 2. And I mentioned Star Wars Visions. If you haven't watched Star Wars Visions, it's very interesting. You have to really like anime to get into Star Wars Visions, because it's made in a they're all I think they're all Japanese filmmakers, and each of the episodes is only 10 or 15 minutes long. But they're all self-contained. They tell a different story. They're done in different styles. Either you like them or you don't. And that's what I kind of thought that What If was going to be. I thought each episode was going to be a self-contained thing, and then, like I said, it wasn't till the end that they tried to wrap them together.
Yeah.
But
like
those are the Star Wars Vision stories are kind of side stories. They're not canon. They're explicitly not canon. And if they came out,
you're telling me the lightsaber umbrella is not canon?
Well,
no.
it looks really cool.
It does look.
And some of the Star Wars Vision stories are better than others. Some of them I just didn't care for because I didn't like the style.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them bad.
Yeah.
But because I think there are stories to be told. I think there are what if stories to be told. It's just a question of how do they fit into the MCU roadmap, if at all. And if they don't, let's just go out and have fun with them. And if they do, I'd be interested to see how they
like I said, I like them in their own sandbox, but make them fit into the big MCU only if it seems practical and it's going to look good. If not, let them play in their own sandbox. That's how I see it. Other than that, I recommend people go out and watch it, enjoy it for what it is. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Definitely take it as tongue in cheek. It's What If. But yeah, no, I think this is a good spot to wrap up. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. As always, please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you are listening to us on Audible or Apple, please remember to rate and review. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, so please like and follow us at DNA Pod, and on Twitter at Nerd DNA Podcast, and on Twitch at Nerd DNA Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Steve Pugh. Joined with me tonight is the wonderful and amazing David Perry. Do you want to have the final word? You're not even going to say anything. You're going to shake your head no. Well, thank you and good night.
Thank you.